right, we're back. We're going to talk about more CFL topics. This one involving Corey Boyd and the Edmonton Eskimos. Yesterday, they had a big win over Toronto Argonauts, taking sole possession of second. What do you think of Boyd's performance? Not too bad. Made some key catches in that drive late in the game to kind of seal things up.
Didn't see his blocking, though.
Well, that's always been his knock, especially this year. But what do you guys think of his performance? And we'll get to Jerome Messam just in a second.
I thought he played a pretty good game yesterday. He had a couple big plays in the first half, but especially at the end of the game when they needed the first downs, he got those big 15, 18-yard plays. But Jerome Messam possibly coming back, that's going to really give him a decision.
Boyd took the high road after the game. And I think the media was trying to get a little bit out of him playing against his old team, and he didn't really give anything to them, and that was great to see.
Yeah, you know what? He is a well-spoken individual. You know, Rob Murphy's said through Twitter, he's not the greatest of guys in the locker room, but that's neither here nor there. But let's get back to that Jerome Messam comment. He got released by the Miami Dolphins. Looks like he was going to be coming up here. Still got that 10-day period or that window, about a week left now, to kind of sign in the NFL, but it looks like he will be coming back north of the border. What is that going to do to Corey Boyd? Was that going to motivate him? Is it going to put a lot more pressure on him? Because if you look at Messam, he's a bigger and better version of Boyd.
He's a bigger and better version, and he's a Canadian more than anything. And all of a sudden you can put a Canadian in your offensive backfield. That's huge. Do they go with three? You know what? That's Eric Tillman's call. And if they go with three, Boyd's not going to be a very happy camper. Could he be a disturbance in the room after that? Yeah, probably. But he won't be without a team for long.
Do you think Boyd would probably get released if Messam comes back?
I don't think they have room for all three, especially when they all want to touch the ball. You know, how do you divide that up? They're not all going to be happy. And Hugh Charles has done a great job for Edmonton, and he's a different style running back, right? He's different than Corey Boyd and Messam, where you need to basically pick one and say he's our power back. I don't think you can have both.
Yeah, Messam's a power back, and Hugh Charles adds that little bit of speed coming out of the backfield. I don't know why he didn't work out in Regina, but nonetheless.
Unfortunately, they released him, and look how he's doing well.
Yep.
Pardon me, look how he's doing well. I'm a little choked up after releasing Hugh Charles. Let's move on to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, of course. The Saskatchewan Roughriders will be taking him on Labor Day Classic Banjo Bowl. But there'll be one member that won't be there. That's their head coach, Paul LaPolice. The reason why is, well, because the Winnipeg Blue Bombers brass decided to go with a different route. Although it's a little bit shocking considering that LaPolice led this team less than a year ago to the Grey Cup, and this time now they were about 7-1. Now, 2-6, the team was playing a little bit better despite their record. What do you say about the Winnipeg Brass deciding to let go of LaPolice? Poor decision?
Yeah, it's the general manager firing him because the general manager didn't do his job. He didn't bring in the players for him. They lost a lot more than they gained during the offseason. You know, losing Willis and trading him away, whatever he was in the room, regardless of that, they didn't get much in return. You look at what he has to work with. He was the fall guy. I have a friend that works all sports talk in Winnipeg, and they wanted him out 2 weeks in from the fans. So I think the front office heard the fans, heard some players disgruntled. You can't get rid of all the players, and you got to satisfy your fans. So he was the fall guy.
Bring him to Regina. No, I'm just kidding. But new offensive coordinator, maybe. I don't know. I just think you cannot blame him. Like, one comment I liked was Wally Buono from BC. He spoke to the media yesterday, and he said that's just a fallback plan. Like, if you look at BC last year, they started 1-5, and they won the Grey Cup. They were talking about firing Buono last year. They didn't. They stuck with him. Worked out pretty good for them.
Kind of like what Wally said, but he also should stick his nose not in Winnipeg's business. I don't think that's right either.
Well, you know what? To be honest with you, Wally Buono is probably one of the greatest coaches in the CFL. So it's not like he said anything ridiculous. He was just defending a coach because he was a coach. Yeah. So you can't blame him on that point. That's from mine. But let's move on to a guy who's played well in the quarterback position. That's Anthony Calvillo. The numbers he's put up is astronomical. Arguably will be a Hall of Famer for sure in the CFL, but now the question's raised with the numbers he's been putting up and the way he's played, can he make the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio? It's not the NFL Hall of Fame, it's the Pro Football Hall of Fame. What do you guys think, Brandon?
I don't think he will. I think he's just been phenomenal in the CFL, but I don't know if you can compare the two leagues. Like, any guy that's in the CFL would love to be in the NFL. Let's be honest. There's not a guy that says, I want to go play in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, I wonder what the criteria is, because all of a sudden if we start putting CFL players into all they call it the Football Hall of Fame, it is still the NFL Football Hall of Fame, regardless of that. do you put Brett Favre all of a sudden into the CFL Football Hall of Fame? You know,
But the difference is it's specific. It's the Canadian Football League. Here in
Yeah.
the States, it's pro football. So it
But-
could be anything. It's almost like Cooperstown in baseball,
But at
or
the same
the
time, they-
Hockey Hall of Fame, where they do add
But do you
stuff like
see-
from Russia, for example.
But they look
Russia's
at down in the States. They don't even think about the CFL. It's an afterthought. They don't really consider it for a pro
But
football
would you
league.
put? But you could understand if you're like, well, Don Narcisse won't necessarily make it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But if you look at the numbers Anthony Calvillo has put up, or the numbers Damon Allen is another great
Damon Allen was
example.
incredible.
They put all-time numbers that's higher than guys like Dan Marino, higher than guys like Brett Favre. You would think that maybe, hey, you might get some consideration, put him in there.
See, there's another player.
Warren Moon. Well, but Warren Moon was an exception.
Doug Flutie in the CFL put up incredible numbers. He was an all-star. He was an all-league kind of player. But in the NFL, he was a flash in the pan at best. Now, does he deserve to go into that Hall of Fame or the CFL Hall of Fame? CFL, of course, he's already in. Could he go in that Hall of Fame? No, because he was a flash in the pan there.
If Warren Moon would have stayed in the CFL, he wouldn't have been in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I think it was what he did in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like they said, it does at Canton, Ohio. There, it does mention that he played in the CFL, but it's got the logos of all his NFL teams, but it doesn't say he played for the Edmonton Eskimos.
Yeah.
All right, and I guess that's a topic that will be left for discussion even further. Let's move on really quickly to the Conference Board of Canada, mentioning that by 2025 we could see a few more baseball teams here. We could see another few more hockey teams, more CFL teams, particularly Saskatoon, one of the mentions there for a CFL franchise. Do you think that Saskatchewan hypothetically could host 2 CFL teams?
No, I don't think so. I think right now, even this season is a prime example of that. When they're winning, that place will be packed, 35,000. Sunday is a little different because it's a Labor Day Classic. Everybody, that's a tradition in Regina, tradition in Saskatchewan to go to that game regardless if they're 0-8 at the time. You still go to the game. But I think it's going to be a stretch to fill the stadiums in both Regina and Saskatoon.
Yeah, I agree. And I think they could probably get more fans than they do in Toronto at an Argonauts game, because if you watch the stands, they're empty. They don't pan across the stands like they do in Regina for one reason, because there's nobody there, right?
There's a lot more blue seats than
But
people.
what would a guy like, we're kind of in the middle, right? We're closer to Saskatoon. Would you forget about the Riders and jump on Saskatoon's bandwagon, or like, because we've been with the Riders for decades.
I think
don't know.
before you start looking at Saskatoon for a CFL team, you got to look at Quebec City and you got to look at the Maritimes. You'll have Ottawa on board, hopefully, if everything works out.
And this is where I'm going to get to my next topic. What do you think is more plausible, 3 new NHL franchises or 3 new CFL franchises? Anywhere. It could be anywhere in the country. Doesn't necessarily have to be in Saskatoon.
Well, with Gary Bettman running the NHL, I say, yeah, that's a long shot at best. CFL could happen. Like, football is huge in Quebec City. Laval's done a great job of the CIS program. They have really rebirthed football there. Now, the thing is, in the Maritimes, too, wants CFL there. Do they have the fan base? Do they have the sponsorship? Do they have the money? I think they do.
It'd make it coast to coast. It'd definitely make this league a Canadian game. What do you think, Brendan?
I would like to see 3 more teams in the CFL before another team in Toronto in the NHL, like there's been talk about. I don't know. I would like to see it in the CFL, but I don't see it happening in the near future.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with Over Under.